This is a Founding Media podcast.
Hi, everybody. How are you? My name is Heather Wagner Reed, and I am your host of Up and Comers. It's a brand new podcast series that Founding Austin magazine is doing here in Austin, Texas. And today we are at Galvanize in downtown Austin, and we're grateful to them for letting us use their startup studio. Today we're going to be talking to a lot of accelerators here in town, which are incredible resources for our startup community and local entrepreneurs. And I have two very special guests, Mike Millard and Dana Rygwelski from MassChallenge Texas. Thank you for being here, guys. All right, so let's kick this thing off. Mike, tell us more about MassChallenge.
So MassChallenge is a global startup accelerator. We have offices in Austin, Texas, for Texas, Israel, Boston, Switzerland, Mexico City, the UK, and most recently, Rhode Island.
Wow.
They're all over the world.
Exciting. When did you guys get to Austin?
So actually about 14 months ago, some folks came down and we started the process of hiring the team and finding a location. We officially launched on October 16th, 2017.
Okay, good. So you guys are here. You're accelerating a number of companies. Dana, tell us a little bit more about your cohort.
Oh, yeah. So we accepted 84 finalist companies into the cohort, and those are the 84 companies that are competing for up to $500,000 in equity-free cash prizes. We are industry agnostic, so the cohort is comprised of social impact, health tech, and life sciences. What are some of the other industries we have in there?
We have energy, we have social impact, we have general consumer, some bioscience, and a lot of high tech, whether
Lots
it's software,
of high tech.
whether hardware, software.
And we're 32% female founded, which is really awesome.
That's great.
Yeah.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. So you mentioned equity free. What does that mean exactly?
So a lot of accelerators, when working with early stage startups, will provide them with some seed funding upfront, anywhere, depending on the accelerator, $20,000. Some with in-kind offerings can also go up to $100,000 or maybe a little bit more. And in exchange for that cash and that value, the startup puts the accelerator on their cap table and gives them, anywhere between 4 to 8%. That's a generalization. Everyone's accelerator is a little bit different. MassChallenge, as a not-for-profit with the mission of helping all entrepreneurs win, we believe that we can do that without taking equity from the companies. So instead of giving them cash up front, we offer no equity grants to the startups, and we do that through a competition model. So the minute a startup applies to be part of our accelerator, they are entering in the competition. When they become a finalist, they go through the accelerator program. And that accelerator program includes additional rounds of judging toward the end, where we then decide who is awarded cash prizes.
Wow, that's exciting. There's, I know you guys have a lot on the horizon. We're going to talk about when that's all going to happen later this summer. But Mike, I wanted to ask you about what is an accelerator?
That's a great question. So an accelerator is a program for startups to enter where we connect startups with resources, with sometimes funding, sometimes education or curriculum to help them win. So think of it as a concentrated effort to get these folks on track to help them move their business forward in a fast way. Mm-hmm. Most accelerators are usually between 2.5 to 4 months long, some are as long as 6 months. Mm-hmm. But you can think of it as a concentrated effort to really get you the right kind of resources, mentorship, connecting you to customers to help you grow your business faster. That's what accelerator is.
And you guys just got to Austin basically last year. Yeah. So what was the deciding factor to come to Texas?
Breakfast tacos? No, that's not.
They are delicious.
That's throwing it. No, that's part of the answer. No, I think when you look at the ecosystem, Austin is very entrepreneur friendly. It has a lot of resources. You've got great collaboration with the folks that are already in town, and you look at how MassChallenge is looking at this from a ecosystem play. Austin seemed to be probably the best fit right now, but again, we want to emphasize this is a Texas play.
Right.
So we want to make sure that we incorporate all avenues and all parts of Texas into the accelerator.
Wonderful. I know there were a lot of interesting people involved with bringing MassChallenge here. You work with a lot of mentors. Any history there as to how it all got to Austin or who was instrumental in that?
Sure. So I know, I hope I'm not missing anybody, but I know that Larry Peterson, who's a board member, did an amazing job pushing for this to come to Austin. And I know Scott Bailey, who is our Chief Growth Officer, spent a lot of time coming down, many trips to come in. And they talked to most of the folks in the community, including Capital Factory, Josh Baer. We talked to a lot of folks around, but I think those two were probably the most visible. I said there's probably some others I don't want to miss. I know that they talked to Bob Metcalf, and Bob was really interested in helping us out, so Bob became a board member. But a lot of, like a lot of things, it takes a village, and I think that's one of those situations with MassChallenge.
Right. So tell me a little bit more about your backgrounds. I'm curious. How did you guys get involved with this? Have you worked for accelerators before? Dana?
Sure. So I have a thin red line through my entire career that involves activating community around a mission. And so it just so happens that that comes with a decade of experience in accelerators as well. I did not go to school for entrepreneurship. In fact, I was very unclear as to what innovation and entrepreneurship actually meant when I graduated. I was a film student. But I moved to Los Angeles and decided I didn't want to freelance in the industry. And instead, I got a job at the USC Stevens Institute for Innovation. And the whole mission was to spread the collaborative nature of innovation across the university and really, start to develop programs that implored students to connect with each other. And so through that, I just developed this passion for new ideas and bringing new ideas for life. And since then, I've worked for Dream It, was an accelerator I worked for as their director of programs and helped them scale up to 5 companies. I also worked with SKU here in Austin last summer. And so through all of this, I was following what's going on in the industry. And I remember being at USC in like 2009, 2010 when MassChallenge launched. And we were like, what is this no equity thing that's going on? So I've actually been following MassChallenge since their inception just by nature. And then about, I guess, a year ago, a mutual friend introduced us. And it's been a best friendship ever since. But I'm most attracted to MassChallenge mission of supporting all ideas. So that was very attractive to me and part of the reason why I joined. And then the opportunity to do something this cool and connect the ecosystem in Texas is also very sexy for me.
Yeah, I like that sexy. That's a good word. What about you, Mike?
So my background's a little different. So I spent a little time in corporate strategy roles at some large corporates. So I tell people I made a lot of PowerPoints and a lot of spreadsheets. I also did tech commercialization. So we took a lot of ideas that were patents and trademarks and copyrights and commercialized those. Spent a little time in venture capital. So I did a lot of due diligence, vetting deals. And then I also spent some time doing some corporate innovation in a healthcare setting. And I ended up leaving that and starting my own business. And that's actually, ironically, when MassChallenge came and said, hey, we'd like you to help launch this. And for me, I'm driven a lot by the challenge. So when they came and said, hey, we're looking to establish a global presence within Austin, all of Texas, but we don't have a team. We don't have any startups. We need more partners. We don't have any curriculum. We don't have any experts. And we don't have a physical location. Would you like the job? And I love a challenge. And I said, this is really a great chance because I love the mission that MassChallenge has. And I also wanted that startup experience to go in and see if I could deal with the different priorities on a daily basis, if not hourly basis, and execute. And you fast forward to 14 months, we've got a location. I have a fantastic team that makes me look better than I am, which is awesome. We have 84 startups. We have 480 experts. We have several key partners, 6 that are founding partners, which is outstanding, or 5. And we just made a lot of progress. And for me, I love the fact that what we're doing is bringing the world here to innovate. Texas on a whole has done a fantastic job getting people to come here to do business. I think our public officials have done a phenomenal job, and God bless them. But I think the next step is when you think about how we're going to migrate our GDP and get things to be more productive, we have to innovate better, faster, cheaper than our competition. And what we want to do is get the world to come here to innovate and take this ecosystem and make it more efficient and effective.
That's exciting. I'm very curious, like, what would be your thoughts on when a company is primed to be in an accelerator? You know, going back to the discussion of what an accelerator is and what MassChallenge is doing, at what stage would they want to do something like this?
I'll give you my 2 cents. So I think there's always different views. I think it's a combination of several factors. So one, early stage, I think is good because you're at a point where you want to have growth. So it can be less than $1 million in revenue, less than $500,000 in funding is kind of a general thereabouts guidelines for early stage. I also think you need an accelerator if you're actually at that point where you're willing to learn and willing to grow. So if you want it and you want that coaching and mentoring, that's when I think an accelerator can be useful. If you're at a point where, hey, I've already got a lot of things figured out, I'm already on a path, it may not be a fit, which is fine. But I think the startups that we've seen that really are engaged, that have that almost sponge mentality, are the ones that are really ready for an accelerator because they want to win and they want to grow.
So right now you're in the middle of your cohort. Dana, can you talk a little bit about what these cohort members are going through right now, how long it is, how intense it is, the time frame? Just what's a day in the life of one of your cohort members like?
Well, we were very intentional with the design of our accelerator this time out. Just knowing it's the first time we're bringing this program to Texas, so wanting to do it to an excellent standard, we created an active week and a work week scenario for the startups. And what that means is that the active weeks are the weeks where there's a lot of curriculum going on. I think we have an average of about 15 classes a week that happen in the WeWork location here in downtown Austin on their new WeWork West 6. And so those active weeks are super immersive, and that is designed to help the startup conquer whatever hurdle they're experiencing. We bring in experts to do that, teach the curriculum, but they also host different one-on-one office hour sessions, or we do what's called a live mentor session, and we bring in a subject matter expert, and they will pretty much just have startups fire questions at them, and then they give real-time feedback right there. And that's been something the startups have really enjoyed. That's also when most of the startups are here, because we're deeming that an active week that is, accelerator program. So we always do some sort of events during those weeks as well with one of our partners, whether it be something that happens at WeWork, or if we take them out to Capital Factory. We did a meetup for all the active accelerator participants here in Austin back in the beginning of May. And then the work weeks are designed for the startups to take what they learned the week before and apply it and work. And there are still, availabilities for office hours, and they have very high touch opportunities with their mentors at that time, but we're not asking them to step away from their business to step into a classroom. And we think that's really important to provide the startups the opportunity to apply what they're learning.
Wonderful. So you guys are giving out $500,000 at the end of the summer, right?
Up to.
So tell me more about how MassChallenge is supported, because you guys are a nonprofit. So who's supporting this whole huge amount of money that you're giving out?
Right. So we work with large corporations and help them innovate. So what we try to understand is when we go to these big companies, we understand their goals and objectives and say, how can we help you innovate? What can we do from a MassChallenge value proposition to bring what may be something that we can help them with to solve a huge problem or something that they're trying to accomplish? And that may be as simple as technology scouting. It could be understanding employee engagement. It could be solving a very specific problem that maybe some of our startups can do. But what we work with is those large companies have an arm, usually a strategy arm or an R&D arm, that allows this to be kind of an extension, if you will, in a cost-effective way. So when you look at what MassChallenge can bring, when you have over 1,500 alumni, and you have all these locations around the world accelerating these companies that have already been pre-vetted by the community, they've already gone through online judging and then in-face judging, you have a group of really well-vetted companies that allow these large corporates to determine what's next, or just get access to, hey, I'm not really sure about blockchain and I want to know more. The other aspect of that is when we work with the large companies is we start connecting those large companies, which is valuable. Many of them want to innovate, and they want to know what other large companies are doing, and that helps them. So we connect them to do that. And most of the time, we find that there is a natural affinity to working with MassChallenge because of the global footprint and the value proposition.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. Sometimes I'll just meet people and they're like, oh, I did MassChallenge in this country, or I was involved over here. So it's definitely a global network and has some real brand presence. And certainly a lot of excitement when you guys came to Austin, for sure. What about your sponsors?
We love our sponsors.
Yes.
I will say that again. We love our sponsors. So we have USAA, Southwest, WeWork, Upstream, and TMAC. All have been outstanding. They support us from a variety of different ways. It can be financial support. It can also be mentors and experts. It can be guidance. Many of them all have a board seat, so they guide me on how to make sure that we expand throughout Texas the correct way. They also help our startups because we have lots of them engage as mentors or experts that allow our startups to understand how the corporate world works, as well as possibly learn more about maybe becoming a customer.
Very interesting. And tell me more about how your mentors integrate with this. How are they chosen, and what do they get out of it?
That's what's interesting is when I went through the interview process, that's where I fixated on. So this is a great question. So what we did is we wanted to make sure that we had a broad reach approach. So we actually went throughout Texas. And these folks can be serial entrepreneurs. They can be executives. They can be professors. They can also be lawyers or special skills. Usually these are folks that have some kind of affinity or skill set that they can bring to help the startups. We screen them to make sure that they are who they say they are, and also that they can provide some value. But what's interesting about this community aspect is a lot of folks want to do this, right? So they're not getting paid. This is a volunteer effort. But I think what's interesting is because MassChallenge is working on that community aspect, the mentors actually really get into it, and they want their particular company to win the prize money. So it becomes a thing.
Wow.
So they did an excellent job in Boston, and they will even say, I'm a mentor, and I've had several companies on the stage, which is code for I got them money.
Wow.
So they're a lot of pride. And we want to create the same kind of sense of pride and excellence in Texas. But a lot of these folks, what I wanted to do, and we did this deliberately, is there's a lot of circles within Austin that everybody seems to know each other. We really deliberately said, let's go outside. Let's go big. Let's go to El Paso. Let's go to Dallas. Let's go to Fort Worth and Arlington. And let's go to College Station. Let's not go to the traditional places that people go to see if these folks could engage. Because some of them can come to Austin, but others can do stuff virtually, which I think is just as powerful as long as they can provide the right kind of feedback.
Wonderful. So I'm curious about what's coming up. Dana, I know you're working really hard on the awards ceremony. Tell us about that.
August 15th. August 15th is the MassChallenge Texas award ceremony here in the downtown Austin area. And what the award ceremony is it is the capstone for the accelerator. This is the big event where all of the awards are presented and where we really show our gratitude and thanks to the startups for trusting us in this process, but also to the community. So it's as much as it is also the awarding of the equity-free cash prizes. And yes, there will be several companies that walk out of there a couple $1,000s richer, which is super awesome. It's a big party and it's a big celebration for the community too. So we will be opening invitations here in the next week or so. And so, we definitely want the community to check their inboxes. And also, you can, quote unquote, apply to or, show interest in receiving an invitation by checking the event on our Facebook page. So MassChallenge Texas is our Facebook page. The event is listed there, and it's going to be a really fun event. And we're really looking forward to the celebration and also seeing who the winners are.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. We don't pick the winners.
Yeah, that's one of the things that's, also kind of fun when I took the job.
Oh,
Took
okay.
the
Talk more
challenge.
about that. I want to hear who's doing all of that.
Yeah. Well, here's what was interesting is when I accepted the position of MassChallenge, and folks knew that I was a managing director, I had several startups come up to me and were very, very nice. Very, very nice to me.
Yes.
And it was flattering. And then I don't think they realized that the mentors and the experts that we recruit actually pick the companies that can not only get into the program, but they also pick the winners.
Yeah.
We don't pick them.
Right.
So all we do is we kind of guide and say, look, this is maybe the amounts, just kind of a range of what you might want to do, but we're not even, directing them on exactly what to do. We're just giving some guidance. So what's nice about this is when you go through the very beginning, you've got experts in the community picking from the best applications. Then they have the live pitching. They pick the best of those. They go through the accelerator. They work with them for those 4 months. Then they have another couple rounds of pitching. And again, the experts pick the winners. So I kind of giggle sometimes when people say, wow, these companies are really, really good. Yeah. And I say, because I didn't pick them. That's why we have the community pick them.
Yeah,
and they're the ones that really do all the work, and we're most appreciative. But I think that's the model. The model works.
Yeah. Wonderful. Okay. We have about 1 more minute. So quick question. What advice would you give to a company that's considering an accelerator in how they pick the right one for them? Curious about that. Because there's a lot of them out there. So what would you say as far as how to pick an accelerator that's a good match?
I think go through what you're trying to get out of it. Sometimes I think you have to kind of put that on the pros and cons. There's a wonderful accelerators in town, and we're supportive of all of them. So if it's, hey, I want to get access to a global footprint, maybe MassChallenge is a route to go. There's others that may have a particular focus, whether it's healthcare or consumer, and that may be something that might be a better fit for you. What I encourage folks is when you look at that, take the jump. Just do it. Just like we tell a lot of folks, you can overanalyze, but at some point, if you're ready to learn and ready to grow, get into an accelerator, whichever one you think is the best.
Right. Well, it's a very exciting opportunity. Thank you so much for the knowledge that you shared with us. And where can people learn more about MassChallenge?
MassChallenge.com/Texas.
MassChallenge Texas, I should say. I turn to Dana, the head of communications. Thank you guys so much, and for actually, I'll give MassChallenge a shout out for helping us get the studio here today, and many introductions in this community. We appreciate you, and can't wait to see what happens in August. So hopefully, up and comers will be there to report on that.
Oh yes, they will be.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.